All right, so let's suppose I've got 1 meter. 1 meter is the same as 1,000 millimeters. Okay, and I now have a square where I want to find the area. And it's 1 meter by 1 meter. So the area of this is going to be 1 meter squared, right? Because it's 1 times 1. But on that same token, if I convert each of the sides of the square from 1 meter into 1,000 millimeters, and it's exactly the same square, so that is the same as that, hypothetically, right? Where all the sides are equal, then this area will be 1,000 times 1,000, which is 1,000,000 millimeters squared. And so that will be the conversion for meter squared and millimeter squared. 1 meter squared is the equivalent of 1,000,000 millimeters squared. So here we multiply by 1,000 to go from one to the other. Here we multiply by 1,000,000 to go from one to the other. And then all of a sudden, I have the same situation, but this time I have it in 3D. So I end up with a box of some sort. All right, I end up with a box of some sort. And you can see on the left hand side over there, I'm going to make this 1 meter, 1 meter by 1 meter. Length, width, and height. And so for this over here, the volume is going to be 1 meter to the power of 3 now. Okay. The volume for this is going to be 1,000 times 1,000 times 1,000, which is 1,000 million millimeters cubed. Which means that the conversion for 1 meter cubed is going to be 1,000 million millimeters cubed. And how do we say that? How do we say 1,000 million? What is the word that we use for that? 1 billion. All right, so that's 1 billion. So to go all the way across here, I would multiply it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 zeros. So we're now developing some kind of idea about conversions and what they can be. We've got our first one, which is just meters, and we got our second one, which is meters squared and millimeters squared. Then we got our third one, which is that one over there. And from this here, I can also rewrite this because it's quite a long time to write 1,000. I can write this as 10 to the power of 3, 10 to the power of 6, and 10 to the power of 9. So 1 meter is equivalent to 10 to the power of 3 millimeters. Let's square it, and let's add 3. Let's cube it, and let's add 3. Okay. And so that is that part over there, which gets me to that conversion. So let's see if I apply that now, if I apply that rule into the next part. Okay. So if I apply that rule into the following, which is going to be, let's have a look at this. And this is going to be, let's say, 2 meters by 3 meters. And I want to write it as the volume, or in this case, the area, in meters squared is going to be equal to 2 times 3, which is equal to 6 meters squared. But the area in millimeters squared is going to be 2000 times 3000, which will equal 6 million millimeters squared. And we can see that to go from there to there, we are multiplying by 10 to the power of 6. All right. When it comes to meters squared and millimeters squared. All right. Convert that into a 3D shape, we would then multiply by 10 to the power of 9 for the next part. Okay. All right, let's see if you can try some of these. I want you to convert the following. I want you to convert 2 millimeters into meters, 3,400 millimeters into meters, 2 meters squared into millimeters squared, 3.4 millimeters cubed into meters cubed. All right, you might get some really small numbers, some weird numbers. Try these for now. Question 1, 2, question 3, and question 4. So for the first one over here, remember we have to quickly put the conversions down. 1 meter cubed is the equivalent of, let's start with 1 meter. It's equivalent of 1,000 millimeters, or 10 to the power of 3. Then we square it. And so it becomes 10 to the power of 6 millimeters squared. And we cube both sides. It becomes 10 to the power of 9 millimeters cubed. And likewise, if you square this, both sides, 2 times 3 is 6, using laws of exponents. And if you cube both sides, 3 times 3 will give you 9. So from this over here, I can see that 2 millimeters is going to be the equivalent of going from millimeters to meters. So I'm going to divide by 10 to the power of 3, divide by 1,000. I need to divide this by 1,000. And I'll end up with 0.02 meters for that. For the next one, to go from millimeters to meters again, I have to divide by 1,000 again. That becomes 3.4. Then from meters squared to millimeters squared, going backwards, I have to multiply it by 10 to the power of 6, which is actually a million. When I multiply this by a million, I get 2 million millimeters squared. And then 3.4 millimeters cubed. I need to go backwards. And so that will become divided by 10 to the power of 9. In other words, divided by, because here we're going from millimeters cubed back. So we're going this way. We divide it by 9 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we've got to move this back 9 times, 9 spaces. So what will that look like? It'll look like this. We got 3.4. And let's jump 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's where the decimal will go. So 0. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 zeros before 3 and 4. And that would be the answer for that one. So it's quite a big jump there. You can see really small number and really big number over there for this. Keeping that conversion in mind, let's try another round of this. So I've got meters, and I've got millimeters, then I've got meters squared, millimeters squared, meters cubed, millimeters cubed. Let's go 0.5, 0.7, and 3,000. Well, let's make it 30,000 meters cubed. Convert each of these now. All right, let's try these random questions over here. No particular pattern. See if you can get them. All right, here we go, guys. So 0.5. Let's put the conversion chart first down and let's see if we can get that first one. So remember, if you got 1 meter, it's the equivalent of 10 to the power of 3 millimeters, which is 1,000, right? So to go from meters to millimeters, you're going to have to increase it by 1,000. So we're going to just multiply this by 1,000. It's going to become 500. And then 1 meter squared into millimeters squared. Remember, you're going to multiply this one by a million because it's 10 to the power 6. So we're going to multiply this one by a million. So it ends up at 1 and then 5 zeros, right? So 700,000 millimeters squared. 1 meter cubed is the equivalent of 10 to the power of 9 millimeters cubed. So to go from there to there, we're going to multiply this by 10 to the power of 9. All right. And here we are going to multiply this by that. So that means it's going to get really, really big. So that means we have to take these 4 zeros and add another 9 on top of it. 4 plus 9 is 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 zeros for this one over here to get it into millimeters cubed. For interest, what does that look like if you have 13 zeros? Or what will it be called if you got 13 zeros? So 10 to the power of 12. This is 3 times 10 to the power of 13, right? Because there's 13 zeros. It's 30 times 10 to the 12. 12, remember, is trillion. So for interest, this is 30 trillion. All right. Conversions into that.